Hello Magic Makers, welcome to Storytime with Mombierella. This is a young adult fiction and may be inappropriate for some younger viewers. Evil Thing. A Tale of That DeVille Woman by Serena Valentino. Copyright Disney Enterprises Incorporated, 2020. Chapter 4. Part 1. Ladies of Accomplishment. At first, school was everything Anita and I wanted it to be. Our academy was a converted mansion, brick-covered with ivy. You know the sort. It had the awe-inspiring architecture one expects to find nestled away in the country. Surrounded by rolling hills, groves of trees, and a lavish park on the school grounds, it was really quite beautiful. Anita, of course, gravitated to subjects like poetry, classic literature, and mythology, while I enjoyed learning about social ranks and the titles that went along with them. Both of us loved our classes in music and painting. But I detested French lessons, while Anita seemed to enjoy them, having proven herself quite good at them in my schoolroom back home. But what we both loved most were our daily walks around the ground, through the park. It was our time to talk about our day, to gossip about the other girls and our instructors. Anita genuinely liked being outdoors. She could sit for hours just looking at the trees, or the leaves floating down the creek we happened upon on one of our walks. And she loved watching the birds and squirrels. I honestly couldn't give a damn about nature. I just liked getting away from everyone. I couldn't stand being locked up with all those simpering, foolish girls, talking of nothing but when they were to be entered into society and eventually married. That seemed to be their singular focus. Finding the richest, most well-connected man and marrying him. Within the first few days of my arrival, I realized young women in my social circle went to school not to better themselves, not to learn something of the world, not to have an adventure, but to find a husband. Or at least that was the objective of all the young women Anita and I went to school with. It was likely they would snare husbands right after they were entered into society, and I supposed their education would teach them enough that they could have intelligent conversations in the drawing rooms with their guests. But they would never be permitted to sit with the men after dinner and have the real conversations. The real conversations were reserved for the men. They got to talk about what was going on in the world, the places they traveled, and the books they'd read. We ladies got to speak of the weather, and which folk went where in a dinner setting. The more time I spent at Miss Upturn's Academy for Young Ladies, the more I realized it was absolutely bursting with simple-minded girls who were all relentlessly mercenary in their pursuit of their happily ever after. I became even more convinced that this wasn't the life for me. I wanted to do what I pleased, whenever I wanted, and I didn't see that happening with a husband, not unless I found someone truly unique and remarkable, like my papa. And I doubted that would ever happen. Besides, unlike many of the girls I went to school with, I didn't need to marry. I had my father's money, I had the DeVille name, and I had the most engaging companion I could ever want in Anita. Despite my unconventional ideas about my future, and how much I detested the other students, I really did love every moment of my education. We were to be made into accomplished ladies. We were taught how to direct a conversation at dinner, how to steer it in another direction if the talk became unsuitable or awkward, how to avoid speaking directly on any subject that was of a personal or sensitive nature, and most important, the virtues of speaking indirectly while making our point clear. I may not have wanted to get married, but I did want to learn how to conduct myself with decorum. I wanted to make my mamma proud. And about halfway through our first semester, I learned I was going to have the opportunity. My mamma was coming to visit me that day for my birthday. I hadn't seen her since my father died. Anita, I'm a little nervous about seeing mamma. It was Saturday, and we were sitting in the garden, taking advantage of a rare sunny afternoon. We'd spread out a blanket, and Anita had arranged some little sandwiches and cakes for us to enjoy in the sunshine, her little birthday gift to me. "What are you two going to do later? When is she arriving?" she asked. "She's taking me out for dinner. We're going Criterion," I said. Anita's eyes got wide. "I know, it's quite fancy. I'm going to wear my best dress. I can't wait to see her." Suddenly, Anita's face reminded me of how Miss Prickett's would sometimes look when I talked about my mother. What's wrong, Anita? I can see if you can come along if you like. So you don't have to spend the evening alone. Anita wrapped her shawl around her shoulders. No, Cruella. You should have some time with your mother on your own. You haven't seen her in ages. It will do you both some good to spend some time together. Well, how are you going to spend your evening? I asked. I hated the idea of Anita spending the evening alone. Or worse, what if one of those snotty twits gave her trouble without me there to protect her? Doing homework, reading, the usual, she said, picking up little white flowers and linking them together with their stems. Maybe I'll catch up with Princess Tulip, see how she's doing. Don't read too far along without me, I said. If you do, you will have to catch me up. Cruella, we've read all the stories hundreds of times. I won't need to catch you up. She put the string of flowers on my head like a crown. There, now you look like a princess, she said, smiling. You're going to have a lovely night with your mamma. Later that night, she helped me get ready. I must have tried on every single dress I owned. Don't forget your fur, Cruella. Your mother would love to see you in it, I'm sure. She handed it to me. I was so nervous. I hadn't seen my mamma in so long. And she had been so upset with me, I feared she believed what the horrible nurse had said, that I was the reason Papa had died. But I pushed all that out of my mind, as I kissed Anita on the cheek and went down to wait for the car. But Mamma wasn't waiting for me. It was Miss Prickett, saddled with a bundle of packages and a hamper full of food. I saw that customary sad look she often wore on her face. I ended up spending my 17th birthday with Miss Prickett and Anita in our room, reading well into the night and eating the delicious food Mrs. Bailey had sent along. It was a lovely evening. I was with two of my favorite people, and I knew my mother loved me. She had, after all, sent me some beautiful gifts.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you haven't had a chance to, please take a second, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, comment down below, share with a friend, and check out some of the other Villain series chapters and books as well. Join us next time, and remember, let it go and keep moving forward. Have a magical day. Bye!